Olga looked at her sister-in-law and frowned. Alina had always been a very beautiful girl, and even 5 years of marriage had not turned her into a boring married woman. She looked great. Her hair, well-groomed hands, discreet, neat manicure, natural makeup, which is not immediately visible on the face. Olga, do you want tea or coffee? Alina asked the unexpected guest. Tea, please. The mother-in-law hardly restrained her sarcastic tone. I hope you have lemon. Yes, of course, Alina nodded calmly. Alex likes tea with lemon too, so I always buy it. Look, there is fresh, and there is with mint. I saw such a recipe on the internet. I made it for Alex, and he liked it very much. Would you like to try some? No, thanks. I'll stick to the old-fashioned way. That's when Alex came to the table. Mom, is something wrong? You've never been here so early. Sorry. Son, I was just visiting a friend of mine. You remember her? Well, it was her birthday yesterday, and I couldn't help but visit my best friend. We had a long talk and I stayed the night. I thought I'd check in on you in the morning, since I'm in your neighborhood anyway. Do you mind? Of course not, Alex smiled. You are always welcome. So how is your friend doing? Oh, son, she's fine. She's doing great. She recently became a grandmother for the second time. Her oldest grandson is 4 years old. He's such a funny little boy. I can't tell you. He sings songs and tells poems. They have already given him to the sports section. They want him to become a sportsman. And how much he loves his grandmother, it is simply impossible to tell. He can't breathe without her. Alina looked at her husband. She had already realized what her mother-in-law was getting at. 5 years ago, at her and Alex's wedding, Olga repeatedly told them not to delay their grandchildren, laughing merrily during silly contests. She swaddled a doll, collected money from the guests for diapers and cradles, made toasts in which she advised them not to waste time, and to start making children on the first wedding night. Alina blushed, looking at her mother-in-law's stupid behavior, and Alex only laughed at her mother and smiled at his beautiful bride. Don't pay attention to her, my love. Mommy just has a fixation on becoming a grandmother as soon as possible. I don't know why she does it, probably to show off to her friends. She used to do that with me all the time. My mom genuinely thought I was doing well in school. Not because I was interested, but for her sake. She would always brag to her friends that I was an honors student. Then she showed off in front of everyone when I got into college. You can't imagine how proud she was in front of everyone. She turned her nose up so high that almost all her friends stopped talking to her, except for one. She's exactly the same, only she has a daughter. By the way, my classmate and also an excellent student. Both moms bragged about their accomplishments to each other. Or rather, not theirs, but ours. My God, how complicated everything is, smiled Alina, looking at her mother-in-law. Well, I guess it's normal to behave like this. I'm just not used to it. My parents are different. My dear, you know my mother too badly. That's why you say that. Thank God we'll be separated from her and you'll see her very rarely. You'll just have to be patient for a few hours while she's around, that's all. By the way, I can't wait for the gala to be over. I don't know how it will work out with the kids, but I just can't wait to be alone with you. Even now, 5 years later, Alex was still in love with her and hurried home to spend the evening together with his wife. There was only one thing that bothered them a little. Alina couldn't get pregnant. Alex, maybe you should see a doctor, she asked her husband one day. No way, he waved away. I don't like these doctors, and I can't stand the smell of hospitals. If there are no children, then it's just not time yet. And there is no hurry. We are young and quite happy. So let's live for ourselves. Alina agreed with her husband. She herself was in no hurry to become a mother. She liked to be beautiful and slim. She liked to sleep well at night, and not to jump up at every baby's cry. Her older sister had twins, and Alina perfectly remembered the hard time when the whole family was exhausted taking care of babies. She herself was then in high school, preparing for exams and going crazy from the endless cries of little nephews. Alina did not want to repeat the story of her sister, and although she knew that one day she would also have a baby, she did not think that it was so urgently needed. But her mother-in-law did not think so, and did not miss the opportunity to poke her with a stiletto. Well, when will you make me a grandmother? Olga asked her daughter-in-law right in the forehead. You're almost 30, and you're still hopping around the world like that dragonfly in the fable. If you can't give birth, just say so. We'll think of something. Thank God. There are many ways to get pregnant nowadays. Mom, Alex tried to turn it into a joke. We don't need your ways. We prefer the traditional way, the old-fashioned way. This way of yours doesn't work. Olga tapped her spoon on the edge of the cup. By the way, I consulted with specialists, and they told me that it happens when a girl has a promiscuous sex life from an early age and has abortions to get rid of unwanted pregnancies. How many times have you had abortions, Alina, and where? Confess now. Alina, who had just taken a sip of tea, choked and coughed. She had not expected something like that from her mother-in-law. She silently stood up and left the table, not wanting to continue this conversation. Alex was also confused and even blushed with indignation. Mom, what are you saying? Alina didn't have any abortions. Why are you making things up? Oh, how do you know that a girl like that doesn't go out with anyone? She must have been running around, and now she's playing the innocent sheep. Mom, go away. Alex got up from the table. Are you kicking me out? Olga was surprised. Son, I only want to do you good. Look around. All your friends have become fathers long ago. Some of them have 2 and 3 children. You're the only one who's a eunuch, and the clock is ticking. You, my dear, are already 34. You've stopped looking after yourself. You've got a belly. By the time you're 40, you'll look like your father. Is that what you want? Mom, I want you out of our house, right now? And don't come here if the only reason you're here is to insult Alina. I won't let you do that. Abruptly throwing back the chair, Olga got up and, grabbing her purse, ran out of the apartment, and Alex went to his wife, who never came out of the bedroom, to see her mother-in-law off. Don't worry, she won't come here again, he told Alina. Aren't you being too hard on her? She sighed in response. She'll get over it. Alex waved his hand. Next time she should think with her head what she can say and what she can't. I won't let anyone insult you. Alina pressed herself against her husband and hit her face on his shoulder. I've never had an abortion. Do you believe me? I believe you, he nodded. Forget it. Come on. I'll give you a ride to work. I have to go too, by the way. Alex worked as an engineer at a factory, but Alina knew several languages and was a personal translator for the director of a firm. She came to her office, but only sat down at her desk when she was summoned to the management. She entered the director's office, learned that they were waiting for a foreign delegation any minute, and prepared for her usual duties. But as soon as the guests appeared on the threshold, Alina flashed to the roots of her hair, because together with them came someone whom she had not seen for many years. It was Michael, the son of a diplomat, who studied with her at the same institute, her first love. With difficulty, Alina began to work and was glad when she realized that Michael was behaving quite calmly and naturally, pretending that they did not know each other. But during a break, he himself came up to her and took her hand. Well, hello, Alina. I didn't expect to see you here. You look amazing. You look even more beautiful. How are you, Michael? She asked, smiling strainedly at his compliment. Nothing, I'm fine. I've been living in France for the last few years, and now I'm back home. But not for long. Just a couple of years. I've been appointed representative of the company in our city. As soon as I finish my business, I'll go back. And you? I lived and live here. I waved my hand, showing the space around me. And I'm doing well too. Alina, let's meet tonight. I'll make a reservation at the restaurant. She only shook her head in response. I'm married. I'm not going to cheat on my husband, and I prefer to have dinner with him too. Let's get back to work. Everyone's taking their seats. It wouldn't be nice if they had to wait for us. Several months passed. During this time, Alina met with Michael many times, but was not alone with him, and solved only work issues. And at home she continued to fend off the annoying attention of her mother-in-law, who decided to get her way by any means necessary. Olga insistently pressed on her son and demanded that he took Alina to the hospital for a full examination. Mom, now, honestly, I don't have time for this. Alex tried to reason with his mother, and when it didn't help, he called his father and asked for help. Valentin promised to talk to his wife the same evening and started talking to her at dinner. Listen, why are you hitting on Alina? Is she a laying hen who should lay eggs on your orders? Alex and Alina are adults. They'll figure out what to do and when to do it. Why are you getting into bed with them? Olga narrowed her eyes. Why are you suddenly defending her? You should be on your son's side, not on the side of that pacifier. How can you think that way about your daughter-in-law? Valentin was indignant. How can you even say such things about her? Have you lost your mind? What about you, you old geezer? You got your eye on her too. I was wondering why you're making such a fuss over her. How did you dance with her at the wedding? I've never been invited as many times as her. No, you've gone completely insane in your old age. Valentine exclaimed and walked away, not to speak to his wife again. But she ran after him and continued to shout that she could see everything. The couple had a big fight, and Valentin said he refused to celebrate his own anniversary. Aha! Now, Olga waved her hands. The restaurant is booked, the money has been spent, the guests have been invited, and you're showing me a temper. I don't even want to hear anything. Just try to embarrass me in front of everyone. Valentine shook his head. How many years I've lived with you, and now I see you as if for the first time. Well, remember that, Olga snapped at her husband. I won't cancel the restaurant. I'm sorry. For several days they practically did not talk to each other, but on Saturday, at the appointed time, they were in the best restaurant of the city and greeted the guests with smiles. Alina, my girl, Valentin reached out his hands to his daughter-in-law and took her by the shoulders. You look divine, as always. No one in this hall can compare with you. And what is there in the hall, in this city? Alina smiled and, congratulating her father-in-law on his anniversary, kissed him on the cheek, and Alex, holding out the gift, laughed. Dad, if I didn't know you, I would have thought that you were going to steal my wife away from me. Thanks, son. But I'm fine with your mom. You take care of your wife. She's a smart girl and a real beauty. Olga was standing nearby and heard everything perfectly. She realized that her husband wanted to annoy her, but pretended not to notice anything. The evening turned out to be very pleasant, and Alina even forgot that recently their relationship with her husband had become some strained. She didn't realize that her mother-in-law was not tired of treating her son, and insisted that Alina always deceived him. It was as if Alex only now remembered that he hadn't been his wife's first, and that she herself had never talked about who she'd dated before him. Yesterday he asked her that question again, but she didn't answer him again, and only got angry, and Alex began to think that his mother wasn't so wrong. Would you stop frowning? Alina leaned over to him. Look, what a wonderful holiday it turned out to be. Everything's so great. Come on, Alex. Let's dance. Now Mom will give a toast. Alex nodded at his mother. Let's hear what she has to say first. After all, it's disrespectful to her to just get up and leave. Alina nodded, and Olga stood up and raised her glass high. Today is the best day of my life. We are celebrating the anniversary of my husband, Valentin, the man with whom I have lived my whole life. We have raised a wonderful son. Now we want to wait for little grandchildren. But my daughter-in-law is not going to give birth to them. And all because she is a common stroller, who from an early age jumped on other people's beds. And then my son picked her up and brought her into the world. And you know what that ingrate did? She's got her eye on my husband. Yes, her father-in-law. She sleeps and sees how she can steal him away from me. Well, maybe at least he'll knock her up, if she won't let my son do it. Valentine stood up abruptly, and then slapped his wife in front of everyone to sober her up somehow, and dragged her away from the table. And Alina turned to her husband and looked at him with eyes wide open with horror. Alex, what is this? What did she say? Why are you silent? And what should I say? He grinned. I didn't really get you pregnant, did I? I came to meet you after work the other day, and I saw you saying goodbye to a man. Black-haired, tall, in a tailored suit. It was a colleague, Alina said slowly and clearly. Yes. Then why was he staring at you without averting his gaze? I wanted to go over there and punch him. And then, at home, you. Alina stood up. Well, you know, that's too much. You and your mommy have gone over the edge. I don't want to see you anymore. And I don't want to hear you either. I'm not going home anymore. It hurts. Alex grinned, poured himself some vodka and drank it in one gulp. Alina ran out into the street and hurriedly walked along the sidewalk, unable to see the way because of tears and resentment. Suddenly she bumped into someone and, hurriedly apologizing, wanted to pass by, but the stranger squeezed her in his arms. She looked up and saw Michael. You, she sobbed. Let go. What do you all want from me? No, he shook his head. I let you go once and I won't make that mistake again. Alina, if you only knew how much I love you, don't think about what happened at the restaurant. I saw and heard everything. Those people don't deserve you. They never realized what a pearl they were holding in their hands. Alina, you'll always be mine. I'll never give you to anyone ever again. Immediately after the divorce, Alina married Michael, and a year later they raised two boy twins and were incredibly happy. Alina heard that after the scandal in the restaurant, Valentin also left his wife. He insisted on an official divorce, and then left for a place he had dreamed of all his life. Alina sincerely wished him happiness, but her ex-husband did not even want to remember. Like his mother, Alex married again in 2 years, and took a girl Olga as his wife. Now they lived together and looked like a happy family. But when they were alone with each other, unthinkable passions boiled between them. And all because the new daughter-in-law was also unable to get Alex pregnant. In the end, having quarreled, Olga's sister-in-law, insulting her with the last words, left the house. And Alex, feeling like a total loser, began to drink a bottle. "You can't react to all this," his mother tried to reason with him. "Come to your senses. You're a handsome man, and there are still so many women around who sleep and see how to marry you." "Mom, I had a family. I had a wife I loved. You did everything you could to break us up. Did you know that Alina gave birth to sons? Not to me, but to that other one. They say they're going to Europe soon, so she can be happy without me. I can't be happy without her. Why did you introduce me to this Natalie? I never liked her, but you forced me to marry her. And what did you get out of it? Nothing. Natalie couldn't get pregnant either, so maybe it's not them. Maybe it's me. You're crazy, son." Olga splashed her hands. "I always looked after your health. I always took care of you the way no mother takes care of her son. I didn't even let you join the army, so that, God forbid, something wouldn't happen. There's nothing wrong with your health. Get out of your head, you hear me?" "I hear," he nodded obediently. After a while, Alex got back together with a woman, but this time he didn't want to get married. At least not until she got pregnant. But it didn't work out for her either, and Alex himself kicked her out of the door, not wanting her in his house. He was 55 when one day he accidentally met the daughter of his mother's friend on the street. By this time, Alyona had already been widowed twice, raised 2 children, and now she was babysitting her grandchildren and caring for her elderly mother. Alex invited Alyona to a cafe. Then they met again during a walk in the park, and somehow, unnoticed, they decided to get together. "You're crazy," screamed at her son. "Are you going to go to her and live there? What about me? And you, Mom, will live on your own." Alex grinned. "I spent my whole life on you. I indulged your whims, believing that you really wanted me to be happy. And now I see that I was just a puppet for you, that you used to pull the strings. Look, you've driven away everyone who was close to you, everyone who loved and respected you. Even me. I'm tired of you, Mom. Tired of you never letting me live my life. I loved Alina and I was happy around her. I didn't care if we had children or not, but you kept brainwashing me, making me spy on her and jealous. And I listened to you like a fool. My father told me to protect my love, but I didn't take his words seriously, because you turned me against him. You're alone now, Mom. Rejoice. You've beaten everyone. I just wanted you to have a big family and children. Mom, 5 years ago, I went to the hospital. Had every test I could think of. I've been infertile since birth. I just couldn't have kids because something in my body wasn't producing. You know, it's my fault I'm single, mine and yours. I'm sorry, but I don't want to see you anymore. At least not yet." He packed his things and left. Olga stood at the window for a long time, thinking about what her son had said to her. How unfair this life was. She wanted to be in charge of her family, wanted everyone to obey her orders, because she alone knew best how to live. And what Alex said about the hospital is probably not true. He made it up, just to find an excuse to leave her alone. But could Olga live with that? No, no way. She began to dress hurriedly, but suddenly she swayed and struggled to the sofa. Her head was spinning, and her legs did not obey her, and there was no one around who could help her, no one. Not even her own son, to whom she had given her life.